Okay, so a little follow-up video. Just in case you're wondering, I don't rehearse any of this stuff. I know most people probably have a little script and they read off it. I'm just making this up as I go. So this is what they call unplugged. Anyway, so this is my Porsche. Well, not sorry, this isn't mine. This is one I built for someone, a 3.5 litre 911 engine, and I fitted the intake manifolds, which are stock Porsche, coupled with a collector manifold down the bottom there. And that's the Holley Sniper EFI on top. That's just a 2-barrel, so that's what they call the 2300. It's got 2 injectors, has its own inbuilt fuel pressure regulator, throttle position sensor, and a map sensor, and blah 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 blah. So it does all of that itself, and there's an ECU in there as well somewhere. So I know these things are really popular in the US and here in Australia for people on with V8s, GMs or Holdens or Fords or whatnot. So I wanted to see how well it would work on the 911 motor. So this is my normal test setup just for running an engine before it goes back to its owner. And yeah, the wiring's a little messy. I'm taking with the Holley, they say that if you're using a CDI ignition, whether it be this one or an MSD or whatnot, under no circumstances should you ever connect the yellow wire to the coil for a tacho signal. So I'm using the CDI, the tacho signal comes out of the CDI and goes to our Porsche 4-pin connector, and I'm just using a wire, this little purple wire here, that's jerry-rigged into the connector for the Sniper EFI unit. So that's my tacho signal. Everything else is just plugged straight in. I've got a coolant sensor here, which is not plugged into oil yet. It's because it's the wrong thread. I don't even know what thread it is. I'm still waiting for one to turn up, but I've just got it resting on the head there to get nice and warm, which it does. And for the fuel system, I'm just using my own Bosch pump. That's the Porsche pump, and that's my fuel cell. And the pump is also being controlled by the Sniper, not by my own switch. Yeah, so it's pretty simple. You just use the blue wire here that connects straight to the power of the pump. And then the pump gets grounded back to the battery, and when you turn the ECU on, it sort of does everything by itself. So, couple of things. Has it been easy going? Not really, because, well, I guess the setup using the handheld module was a little bit of a pain in the arse. I ended up using my laptop. Luckily, this came with a USB dongle, so I was able to plug the laptop in pretty successfully. The software is not very difficult, but there are a few little idiosyncrasies with it. I won't go into that sort of stuff because this is just going to be used for test running and whatnot. But I will say that to get it running originally, it was running absolutely pig-rich, using the setup map by Holley. And with the Holley, what you do is you go through the screen and you sort of tell it how many cubic inches the motor is. It's only a 3.5 litre engine, so that's about 213 cubic inches. Tell it what sort of camshaft you got, what sort of ignition system you're using, and then it populates it generates its own base map. I'm not using the Holley to control ignition timing. That's all being done by my distributor, and I have already preset my timing using a timing light, and the engine has previously run using the original Porsche CIS injection system. So it was initially very, very difficult to get started. It was running rich, settings were all over the place. I'm still having some issues. One of the issues at first I noticed was that and you'll see it in the video, I'll post a little video in a second, but you'll see the RPM tends to sort of it starts off steady and then it just goes nuts. But persevering, keeping the wires away, and then one of the changes I made, which seemed to make the biggest difference, was Holley in their instructions say that you must only wire the positive and negative for the ECU directly to the battery. And I didn't. I had the positive, because it was nice and easy, I had the positive connected to my starter motor here, and I had the ground strap on an engine stud there because it was nice and close and I didn't have to cut anything. And I thought, you know what, I'll just try changing it, and I extended some power leads down, put some ring terminals on, and so they're on the terminals for the battery now. And for whatever reason, that seems to help. I also did try and route some of these, because the tacho signal, the tacho wire comes out of the CDI, comes through this harness, through here and into this connector, and before, these two spark plug leads were running over the top. So whether there's some EMI, some magnetic interference or electrical interference coming through, which I imagine there probably is, because, you know, there's pretty high voltage going through each of these spark leads, it could be still disrupting the tacho wire in there. I mean, this was only ever designed to feed a tacho on your dashboard, and I imagine that your tacho on your dashboard cluster isn't that sensitive, whereas this one probably, the ECU, if it's taking its tacho signal from there, really is. So, I mean, I'm not going to go any further with this. I've done what I need to do, which is, yes, it will maintain an idle. Yes, it does have pretty decent throttle response. Yes, it can run, it seems to be able to run a pretty meaty camshaft. So this is definitely a winner. It will definitely work. And I am very, very keen to rebuild a motor, maybe with a little bit more conservative camshafts, but also to have some time so I can actually spend some time playing with the settings, playing with the ECU, and trying to nut it out. But I don't think we're very far away. I noticed that my idle control valve reading, the percentages going from like 0 to 100 and flicking around, and that's because it thinks the RPM's dropping really quickly down to 0, and I still think I'm getting some sort of interference from this area going through to my tacho. So I need a clean signal for the tacho. Once I get a clean signal to the ECU in the Sniper for the RPM, I'm pretty certain that this is going to be much, much more reliable. But yeah, so as it is, I'm happy. All right, sorry it wasn't a complete start to end video of having it 100% up and running, but that might come in the next few months. But for now, I'm going to keep going. Cheers. Thanks for watching. Yeah, it starts doing some funny things. You can see the RPM was sort of going up and down, so I don't know whether I've got some electrical interference or something else going on. So, but it's running a lot better than it was before. Yeah, it's running a little bit rich.